let's have a look at a new setting that you might have missed that can be really important. Also, I'm going to show you a little trick to get auto selections using the remove tool. So right now, these features are in Photoshop beta. I'll give you a link on where to get the beta. So what we want to do is get rid of these boats. So let's grab our remove tool. And now with our remove tool, we want to create a new layer and make sure sample all layers is turned on. That gives us more flexibility. All right, let's just quickly paint over these. And I'll show you my tip in a second to save you time doing this. All right, so we've got a quick selection over here right now. And there's a new feature in here. By the way, find distractions. We looked at that in my previous tutorial. But the new feature here is generative AI. Because as you know, when we use generative AI, it uses credits. So we can choose to always use it, or we can choose to never use it. So right now we're just doing auto and let it just kind of do its own thing. And I'm going to just apply the check mark and let it do its thing without any intervention from me. So what it does is it removes these objects, and obviously there's a couple of little bits I could just paint over those to continue. But what it'll do is it'll decide whether or not it needs to use generative AI or not. All right, let's have a look at the options. So I'm going to create a new layer, and we'll call this one Gen AI, and then I'll create another new layer which says non. We'll just call it non, so we're not going to use the generative, so we can compare the quality. So why don't we start? I'm going to hide that one. We're going to start with the non. Now, let's look at this trick for making this selection. So we can go here and we can grab our selection tool, our object selection tool, turn on Object Finder, and then it will select these objects. So if I click and hold down the Shift key, I can add to that selection, and now I've selected all of these boats. Now, if I try to apply here, it's not going to work very well because the selection is too tight. So we need to go Select, Modify, Expand. And this is not even the tip, by the way. So we're going to expand this by 25 pixels. Okay, so this is a good place to start if we want to use the selections to help us. And then we're just going to go to our brush here, and then we're just going to paint. Now we're in the remove tool, and we don't have to think about it. We can just quickly paint using that selection. All right, and now this is the one with non, and we're going to make sure that we are not using it, and then we're going to apply it. So one of the things you'll notice is, apart from the fact it looks really bad, is that it selects it almost instantly because it doesn't need to go up to the cloud. Okay, so obviously what we can see here is this is not going to work on complicated things like that. But maybe it'll work for retouching and small things, which is really what that's for, you know, when we are just retouching little things. All right, well, let's go back and we're going to use the Gen AI and see how this looks. And while we're at it, I'll turn off that selection and I'll show you my little trick. It's a two-step trick. All right, so we could go to the Object Finder and we could select these again. So let's do that. And I'm going to hold down the Shift key and we're just going to select that. Okay, so we've got these four selected. All right, let's make sure we're on that generative AI layer. Let's go to the remove tool. And let's make the brush really huge so we can just quickly paint it because we're using that selection. And this time we're going to always use generative AI. So it's going to force it. So I'm going to apply this, but you're going to notice it's not going to look good. And the reason is because I haven't expanded those edges. Why didn't I do that? Well, I'm going to show you the trick right now. Okay, so that's not working very well. And the reason is because it didn't give it enough edges to work with. But here's the interesting thing. Once it generates, notice that it creates a buffer zone and adds its own feather there. So all I need to do now is just apply it, say a dummy time, then control click. Now it loads it up with that edge, but notice there's also a feathered edge. So let's create that new layer. We're going to hide this. And now let's go to our remove tool. Let's apply this. And then hit that check mark. And this is with always use turned on. Boom, Control D. You know, it's pretty close. I mean, I just paint there and I could just apply it again if there's, you know, bits left over. All right, but there's a second part to this, by the way. So say I'm in the remove tool and I am fixing little spots. Like maybe there's a spot up here, there's a spot there, maybe there's a spot here. If I use a generative AI, this whole area is going to be limited to the resolution that Generative AI, which is currently 1024 by 1024, is able to produce for all these spots. The other option is if I turn that off and never use Generative AI, so force it to not use it, and then I've got these areas spread out around here and fixing these little spots, we're not going to have resolution mismatches or problems with that resolution. Okay, so we've done two things here. One is we looked at the remove tool, and then we could say, hey, we never want to use it, so we're not paying generative credits for little things, easy to fix, but then we can force it to always use it for more complicated things, or just choose auto where it will select it when it needs it. That's the first thing we learned. But the second thing we learned is if we want to use the automatic selections to help us with the painting to save time, we can go to the object selection, load up the selection in here, and then at this point we can either just apply it, control click to select it, and then just apply it a second time. Or if we want to do it the manual way, apply it, go up under select to modify, expand the selection, guess how much we should expand it by, and then also feather the selection. So if you want to do it manually, you can do that, or you can do it the easy way. It's up to you. As always, drop a comment and let me know if you learned anything new in this video. And if you're new, welcome to the cafe. Hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications. You won't miss any of my videos. And until next time, I'll see you at the cafe.